Reports in England suggesting that Mikel Arteta has 5 Premier League games remaining to prove his worth as coach of Arsenal. Jules is still with us as you welcome Nedum Onouha to the show as well. Nedum, is Arteta out of his depth?
It certainly looks that way at the moment, but it's a tough situation to be in. I think there are players who are missing through illness, through injury, so you're probably not seeing the best version of Arsenal. But I think the bigger problem is the fact that when you look at where Arsenal are in relation to the teams who are potentially going for the league this year, they seem like they're light years away from that. And the problems and the questions will obviously be levelled at the manager because, you know, these are key players for Arsenal, but even if they were all playing, I think Chelsea, for example, would still have gone into that game as heavy favourites. So questions are rightly being asked. And, you know, a club like Arsenal, with the expectation that they have and the history that they have, I think being this far off the pace in terms of a title race and a top 4 finish ultimately isn't going to be acceptable. So I understand why he's under pressure, but I just don't necessarily understand the specifics of 5 games.
Jules, recruitment surely is a massive issue as well. We take a look at even those players that are missing, not many of them would walk into, say, a top 4 side in the Premier League. So is it a case of Arteta can't really do much with what he's got, or he should be proving himself more?
I think it's a bit of both. I really wonder if Antonio Conte walks into this dressing room and Arteta is sacked. I don't think Antonio Conte can bring this team into a top 4 because I agree with Nedum, and that's what I've said all week, is that there's a world apart between Arsenal and the top 4, the teams that will finish in top 4, which are City, United, Chelsea and Liverpool. They can't compete. This is not their league. Their league right now is between 5th and 20th. This is the team that they should be able to beat. That's who they challenge with, who they compete with. It's not the 1 to 4, because them are far too good, far too strong, far better organised, better structured, everything you want. So if you think it that way, I think he deserves a bit more time to put that project through. This is a transition time, and you don't need you can't change managers every 2 minutes through a transition when you're trying to rebuild something positive at the club. The thing is, you also need to see improvement, and I still think that Arsenal played better under him straight after he arrived, between, let's say, January and April or May, without counting the pandemic. But when they won the FA Cup, tactically I saw more then, with innovations, movement. There was some good stuff, positive stuff that he was trying to put together tactically, more than what I'm seeing now. But again, Nedum is right. There's a lot of players missing. There's young players coming through, new signings. This will take time to gel. Whoever is the manager, you need a bit of time to get them all together, play the way you want them to play.
Jules, why was it easier to pull the trigger so quickly on Unai Emery, a much more experienced coach, a much more successful coach? Why do they continue to hang their hat on Mikel Arteta, who, let's not forget, has done nothing managerial in his life before this?
It's a good point. I think the key word again is transition, is rebuilding. You were not really in a transition with Unai Emery. You were in the continuation of what Arsene Wenger had been doing, and yet it's a change because it's so different and it was never going to be the same. However, this is what he was there to do: take the same squad pretty much and strengthen it and reinforce it. A squad that finished in a top 4 for 20 years, apart from the last 2 of Arsene Wenger, but it was much more continuation than transition. Now you are properly into a transition where it's not just your starting 11 that you need to rebuild, it's the whole squad, it's the 25-man squad. Whether you rely more on your academy, and we've seen really good talent coming through Highland, and there will be more, there are more there. Whether it's letting go those older players, it's getting rid of the one that you don't want, you don't think they're good enough, or certainly you don't think they've got the right mindset for your club, and start again by spending money wisely. And we will know in a few weeks, few months time, if the money they spend, and it's a lot of money this summer, if they spend that right on the right players or if they got it wrong again. But this is a very different time and context than the Unai Emery year, which again was continuation, whereas now it's very much transition.
If it is transition, and Jules makes some good points there, Nedum, do you really want Arteta to be at the head of it?
Well, as Jules has been alluding to there, even if Conte came in and had this squad, I still wouldn't fancy them to be in a top 4 situation, even though he's coming with the credential of being a league-winning manager in Serie A. I think the transition is there, and maybe Arteta is the right person for this moment, because to piggyback on something that was just said, why is Arteta being given so much time? I think Arteta has a different history with the football club, because I think it's very quickly to forget the fact that he played for the team. He was there for 5 games. He's played over 100 league games for them. So the disdain that maybe they have for him is different because, as I say, in some ways, he's felt what it's like to be at Arsenal. He's felt what it was like to maybe go through a transition with the club and understands the club more so from the inside out. So, you know, it's a tough situation to be in for a club that historically has been so good. You know, we think of all the good times that Arsenal have had, but they are a million miles away from it. But these top managers that we speak of, they could come into this situation and not make things infinitely better. I think the transition is definitely there for all to see, and I suppose it's just a case of accepting that. But you know, when you've had the success that Arsenal have had, you're not really too interested in doing so, are you?
La Liga. Stream every match on ESPN Plus.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.